Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's VIN-dow with Robert Hollinshead. Good mid-June to you, Bob. We're sitting on June 15th today.
Same to you, my friend.
Thank
Is
you.
the frost done in the northern latitudes here, my friend?
Oh my goodness! So I think you guys have been sucking our secondhand smoke down your way, haven't you?
Well, there's no question about that. Plus, we've been in the middle of an unbelievable June drought. Late May, June drought. I've never seen nothing like it since I was a little kid. Unbelievable. So, what happens. That's all.
So overcast skies and no rain. Which is
Zero rain. In other words, it can thunder and lightning, and before the rain hits the ground, it evaporates. It's very weird. It's kind of like the market. Actually, I don't want to say that the climate has something to do with what's happening in the general marketplace.
So my neck of the woods.
If you were superstitious, you would believe it.
Yeah. My neck of the woods on the East Coast Canada, I'm hearing, we chat with dealers every day, daily, and there's a lot of trepidation happening in franchise stores, in their showrooms and stuff like that. I think trepidation is the word. There's just a little uncertainty with the lack of traffic coming in to shop cars, and just seeing if you're seeing that stateside or what's happening in the market in general, kind of on a macro level, and maybe dive into a bit, if we could, on the wholesale side of things, because I think it all kind of, it's definitely interconnected.
So there's all sorts of things we can refer to in terms of the number of appraisals we're doing. If we're doing 500,000 appraisals, normally the number of appraisals is way down, probably down 100,000 in AccuTrade, month over month. So that's not a good indication, except it's an unbelievably good indication if you're going to set up the premises to come to a conclusion that would make any sense. I think what I'm feeling and hearing and seeing is, we got, I don't want to exaggerate, but maybe an extra 30, 50 calls per day from dealers that want to sell cars that, they use other marketplaces. They're not getting the job done they need to get off cars. They have lots of inventory they're absolutely crushed in. And even when you try to put them on, name any marketplace, you wind up playing with your putts. And, that doesn't stop curtailment. Curtailment is constant, doesn't know what the climate or what the interest rates are. They just know they need to get curtailed. And that obviously puts a squelch. I'm going to use an example. When we were children and doing the north-south run back in the early 80s, buying cars in the south, selling them in the north, buying them in the north, selling them in the south. So you absolutely did not have an option of not selling whatever you drug from South Carolina to Philadelphia. To sell, because that's what the money you use to go back the other direction. And if you didn't, for some unknown reason, sell, you couldn't really buy, right? It's not like we were working with 100 million in those days. It was like your cash needed to turn. So in today's world, if you're not turning your cash retail or wholesale, your intestinal fortitude to be a big shot and go out and start banging away and buying more cars, it evaporates. It's just not there. So when you look at the general circumstances, I study very closely how many people are logged in on simulcast, where they are. We get a little report that says, it's 1,900 total dealers, where they are, who they are. Obviously, it's always at least 80%, I'm going to say 85% used car dealers that are logged in to buy cars at any auction. The fact that some new car dealers actually do buy cars, you're not going to deny that, but very small percentage that are actually the players. That then reflects, everybody's in the grandstands, very few people on the playing field. You understand that? In other words, from the grandstands, you cannot swing and hit or swing and miss because you're in the grandstands. Where you're on a playing field, you're actually getting ready to push a button and buy something. That has dramatically reduced. And it's not just in the largest marketplace in the world, Manheim, Pennsylvania. It's in key markets around the country, right? So you could say, well, I don't care about that. I'm in the retail business. Yeah, I know you aren't. But if you think somehow or other in a four-legged table that one of the legs is not doing so great, that somehow the table stays up. It's total nonsense. It's interconnected in that regard, like just like molecules in an atom. You follow me? In other words, they're all bouncing around one against the other. When you think about this, dealers definitely have inventory that they're not able to get off of. Interest rates, obviously nobody's going to deny. I don't care if you're working with cash. We work with cash. We don't worry about interest rates, except interest rates are a direct relationship to, people's ability to actually, like say, well, this is no longer a line item. Like we've been doing that for years. It's all of a sudden it's a major line item because you got to, whether you're charging yourself interest or you're paying somebody else to be the user. In other words, it's definitely an effect. Another thing that's 100% factual, no matter what any is, like what you read or hear, cars are in inventory. Oh, I don't have this kind of car. I know you don't. And, I still have that, and I know. But there's a lot of cars sitting around that you're paying interest on. And, in other words, now all of a sudden you can't be buying these relatively late model cars and thinking you're going to plant the McGillicuddies in them because interest rates won't allow it to have, number one. Number two, you're using up a potential new car sale by planting someone in a used car. And, that unfortunately, and, theoretically, you're going to get a better car to trade that you can trade on the car. All the rest of it goes down. But at the same time, that means there is way less interest in an almost new car. And you can go into certain brands where that almost new is like 20 or 21, 22 for sure. So that, that has a dramatic effect on the market, in my estimation. So once again, we really do study what auctions sell what percentages, what kind of sellers sell what percentages, and the percentages are in half compared to what they have been in the most recent past. And it also depends on who, obviously a commercial seller has no relationship to the ownership of the car. You just have an employee sitting there saying yes or no, but somebody hollering at them because they got a 0.5% too little or whatever. That's different than somebody who's actually there to do business with their own candy. In other words, those people that were in the middle of things selling 92, 95% are back down to selling 30 or 40, and sometimes really good 50%. 50% don't work in the wholesale market. It puts you backwards another week, puts you back 2 or 3 weeks. So, and almost without any exception, you didn't want to say, I'm bringing up, I'll get more next week. Here's the deal. No, you won't. So it's easy to say at that moment. But the truth is, unless you have amnesia, you're going to remember the following week that you could have sold it for more than what you're selling it the next week. Of course, there's exceptions to that, but they're exceptions. They're not the rule. All of this adds up to a not disaster at all. You just have to understand the rules of the game. Understand that we are in a three strike marketplace. You got to touch on the history. In other words, the facts. Nobody in the world can go, oh, you don't know what he's talking about. I could sell anything with a big Carfax. Good for you there, muscle man. The truth of the matter is Carfax matters. Auto check matters. If you're sitting there banging away and you got 9 million other options to buy something different, and you're going to go ahead and step up to the plate and bang away on a bad Carfax, minor or maybe that the whole minor thing is such a horrible joke. It's a touch, and what that means on a Land Rover, with any kind of a touch, you're selling it to another yuppie. When you bring it back, and that yuppie sees the touch, and nobody on earth can tell me that don't have a dramatic effect. Of course, in the COVID and the post-COVID market, to a certain degree, January, February, March of this year, Carfax didn't matter at all, but it does now. So a 1 strike, a 2 strike being something left-handed, in that it's all painted up, or the equipment it don't have a moonroof on some sort of a something. No, that car has become a left-handed Hamburg. It's worthless because there's too many other options, and then you're going to be the genius that comes, hey, boss, you won't believe this. I was able to find one without a moonroof. Pack it up and go home, pal. In other words, there's a strike, no question about it, in terms of equipment and condition. There's no doubt about that. And then the last little piece is the days in market when you're sitting there looking. If you look at our tool, it's 120 days in market, but it looks like it's worth the money. I wish you all luck in the world with that car, because if there's 9 million of them and nobody cares about them, that's the desirability index. That if somebody doesn't pay attention to, you can get away with it, because there is a certain degree of luck in retail that there isn't in wholesale, right? So you might get away with it, but my feeling is that's also how you walk yourself into invalid inventory and the near term future. So then we think about this. So it's, well, it's getting to be vacation. So it's going to always be vacation time. This is like June. It ain't really the 4th of July and later, and somebody went, they rented the place in Myrtle Beach. No, it's like this is way too early for this. My feeling is it's going to continue on this journey on a downward slide deep into July and August, because I would call it constipation of the marketplace. You see what I'm saying? There is no normal movement. It's a little constipated. It doesn't mean you're dying. It means that it's a little challenged in my estimation. And if you have the ability to close eyes and flush, the suggestion obviously would be, repack with cars that have, and obviously there's always the option of cars that are challenged. If you're buying them worth the candy, they're definitely worth the money, but you just can't ignore the strikes and then say, well, I bought 3 more cars today. Yeah. But if they're all striked up, in other words, you're digging yourself a little deeper hole. If you're absolutely robbing those cars, that's a whole different story, because you're dealing with a different potential buyer, right? The best end user is a different person with a bad Carfax, no gear, and like painted from asshole to belly button, right? So it's a different kind of thing, and that's a whole altogether different. Now, how many dealers have those kind of customers? Certain people don't ever see that customer. Certain people live off of those customers. That's something for, everybody to decide what they're doing in that case. But, from a general standpoint, I think we're in a little bit of a weird thing. And I don't know that it's going to be going away in the next, 5 minutes. You follow me? While I was on this call right this minute, for the past 10 minutes, I had 4 phone calls from dealers that are looking to dump inventory. And these are not people that we've been doing normal business with, doing business over the decades, but not recently, because they don't need to get rid of cars. They're in a different circumstance now. So it's it's an interesting circumstance that we're going to be sitting in here for a couple minutes. Does that make any sense to you, my friend Shawnee?
No, I appreciate it, and I think everyone appreciates your point of view on what's happening in the market. So much appreciated. And
all right, Doctor.
Thanks, Bob.
Have fun, everybody. See you later.